The cold steel of the letter opener sliced through my throat like it was butter. And I remember the gurgle of my own blood bubbling up as I slumped against the oak desk in my grandfather's study. "You always were too trusting, Grace," my cousin Ethan sneered, his Ivy League smile twisting into something feral, while Aunt Lydia watched from the doorway, her diamond earrings glinting like the eyes of a predator. That was the end, or so I thought, until the darkness cracked open like a bad dream, spitting me back into my 22-year-old body. Heart pounding in a dorm room at Northwestern University, 3 years before the knife ever touched my skin. I bolted upright in my narrow twin bed, sheets tangled around my legs like restraints from a past life. The clock on the wall read 7:14 a.m., September 15th, 2018, the exact morning after my first big internship interview at Harlan Enterprises, the family conglomerate my grandfather built from a single steel mill in Gary, Indiana, into a Midwestern empire of real estate and manufacturing. My hands flew to my neck, smooth and unmarked, no scar from where Ethan had carved his initials into my flesh as a parting gift. Sweat soaked my tank top, and for a split second, I tasted copper on my tongue. It wasn't a nightmare. It was memory. I'd been murdered, framed for embezzling millions from the company to cover their tracks, all because I stumbled onto the secret, the boardroom coup they'd plotted to bury grandfather alive in a nursing home and seize control. Revenge hit me like a freight train before the adrenaline even faded. In my first life, I'd been the good girl, the loyal granddaughter who idolized Elias Harlan, the self-made titan who'd clawed his way out of the Rust Belt with nothing but grit and a ledger. I'd majored in business to follow in his footsteps, interned every summer at the Chicago headquarters, and defended the family name when whispers of old money corruption swirled in the press. But they, Ethan, Lydia, and Uncle Victor had seen me as the weak link, the one who'd inherit Elias's trust and unravel their schemes. They'd poisoned his mind with lies about my affair with a junior exec, planted evidence of my gambling debts, and when that wasn't enough, they'd staged my suicide to look like guilt-ridden despair. The headlines had screamed, "Heiress takes own life amid scandal," and Elias, broken and bedridden, died 6 months later, whispering my name in his sleep. Now, I had a do-over. No more playing nice. This time, I'd dismantle them brick by corporate brick, starting with the lies they'd sown like weeds in fertile soil. But first, I needed proof, something ironclad to expose the buried secret at the heart of it all, the offshore accounts Victor had siphoned funds into, the bribes Lydia paid to zoning boards for ghost developments, and Ethan's digital trail of hacked competitor files. In my dying moments, I'd glimpsed the ledger on Elias's desk, the one he'd hidden in his safe, detailing every betrayal. If I could get to it early, before they twisted his paranoia against me. I showered off the phantom blood, the hot water scalding my skin like penance, and dressed in the power armor of my old life, a tailored black blazer over a silk blouse, pencil skirt hugging my hips, heels that clicked like warning shots. Northwestern's campus buzzed with that autumn crispness, leaves turning gold under a sky too blue for the storm brewing in my chest. I grabbed my laptop bag, stuffed with notes from my first internship, and headed to the L for the ride downtown. Chicago greeted me like a lover with teeth, the looped skyscrapers clawing at the clouds, horns blaring from cabs dodging jaywalkers, the distant wail of a siren echoing my inner scream. Harlan Enterprises occupied the top 10 floors of the Harlan Tower, a glass monolith on Michigan Avenue that screamed untouchable wealth. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and chrome, receptionists in crisp uniforms nodding as I flashed my intern badge. "Morning, Miss Harlan," the security guard said, his voice warm with that Midwestern deference. Miss Harlan. God, how I'd hated that title back then. Too heavy, too expectant.
Now.
It was my weapon. My desk was a cubicle in the executive assistant pool, buried under memos and coffee rings.
I dove in?
Fingers flying over the keyboard, pulling personnel files under the guise of orientation research. Ethan's photo popped up first. 28. Slick black hair. Wharton MBA. VP of Operations. His bio gushed about innovative strategies, but I knew the truth. His strategy was sleeping with interns for leverage and leaking trade secrets to Chinese firms for kickbacks. Lydia's file next. 52. Poised as a senator's wife. Head of public relations. She'd buried scandals like a pro. From Elias's DUIs in the 80s to Victor's assault charges swept under NDAs. And Victor, the patriarch of poison. 55. A CFO. With a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos and a ledger full of lies. By noon, my eyes burned from staring at screens, and my stomach growled like a caged animal. I'd skipped breakfast. Too wired to eat. The company cafeteria was a sterile oasis, salad bars with artisanal dressings, sandwich stations manned by chefs in toques. I loaded a tray with a turkey club and iced tea, scanning for a quiet corner. That's when I saw him, an older man in a rumpled trench coat, hunched over a bowl of soup at a corner table, his face half hidden by a Chicago Tribune folded like a shield. Silver hair, cropped short, wire-rimmed glasses, a salt and pepper beard that screamed, retired professor, more than corporate shark. He looked out of place, like a relic from the pre-gentrified South Side. Our eyes met as I passed, his sharp blue, piercing through the steam from his bowl. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, voice gravelly with a hint of that Gary accent, the one Elias used to roll out like a red carpet for investors. I froze. Something in his gaze tugged at the edges of my memory, a flicker from the life I'd lost. "Sure," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. Up close, he smelled of old books and pipe tobacco, the kind grandfather favored. "I'm Grace," I offered, unwrapping my sandwich. "Call me Sam," he replied, spoon pausing midair. "New here. Intern. Family business." The words tasted bitter, laced with the irony of what family had cost me. We fell into easy chatter, him regaling me with tales of Chicago's old steel days. The mills belching fire like dragons, workers unionizing against fat cat owners. I laughed, genuinely, for the first time since waking up dead. "Sounds like you knew the Harlans back when," I probed, testing the waters. His eyes crinkled. "Knew Elias? Hell, I broke bread with him more times than I can count. Tough old bird. But loyalty's a rare commodity in towers like this. Loyalty." The word hung between us like smoke. I bit into my sandwich, the flavors exploding, smoky bacon, crisp lettuce, but my mind raced.
Who was this guy?
A disgruntled ex-employee? A plant from a rival firm? By the time our trays cleared, he'd scribbled his number on a napkin. "If you ever need an ear,
kid.
This city's full of wolves." I pocketed it, nodding. "Thanks, Sam." Lunch was unexpected. As I rode the L back to campus that evening, the napkin burned a hole in my pocket. I shouldn't trust strangers, not after Ethan's honeyed lies, Lydia's backstabs. But Sam's words echoed Elias's bedtime stories. The ones about outlasting the betrayers. That night, I pored over old family photos on my phone, the digital ghosts of holidays past. There, Elias at 40, arm around a younger version of himself. But wait. The beard. The eyes.
No. Impossible.
Sam couldn't be.
Nah.
Ghosts don't eat soup. The next weeks blurred into a calculated dance. I played the eager intern by day, fetching coffee for Victor, spiked with just enough extra cream to annoy his lactose intolerance. Transcribing Lydia's emails, noticing the coded language for off-books meetings. Shadowing Ethan's strategy sessions, where I'd accidentally overhear calls to offshore bankers. By night, I hacked, nothing fancy, just student-level scripts from my comp sci elective, scraping public records for Victor's shell companies. The secret festered, a $50 million slush fund, funneled through fake charities to fund their takeover. If I could link it to them before they isolated Elias. But paranoia crept in. Footsteps behind me in empty halls. Anonymous emails warning, stay out of family business. Grace. They suspected something. Even this early. I needed an ally. Someone outside the web. So, 2 Fridays later, I texted Sam. Lunch? My treat. Got questions about the old days. We met at a dive in Wicker Park, greasy spoons and vinyl booths. The kind of place where deals went down before they hit the boardroom. Sam was waiting, nursing a black coffee. Spill it.
Kid.
You look like you've seen a ghost. I hesitated, then laid it out, not the murder, not the rebirth, just the unease. Families circling Elias like vultures. I think they're cooking the books. His face darkened, spoon clinking against porcelain. Victor always was a snake. And Lydia? Sharp as a stiletto. But Ethan's the wild card. Thinks he's untouchable. How do you know them? I pressed, heart hammering. Sam leaned back, lighting a pipe I'd swear was illegal indoors. Because I was there at the beginning. Elias's brother, my father, built this with him. But blood turned sour fast. I walked away after the 92 layoffs, when Elias chose profits over people. Changed my name, vanished into adjunct gigs at community colleges. But I never stopped watching. My fork froze midway to my mouth. Uncle Sam, the black sheep, rumored dead in a fishing accident off Lake Michigan, the missing piece Elias mourned every Thanksgiving, toasting to the brother who got away. You're Samuel Harlan, he confirmed, exhaling smoke like a confession. And you're the spitting image of your grandma. God rest her. Elias talks about you in his letters, brags like a fool. Letters? My mind reeled. In my first life, Elias had died isolated. No mention of Sam. But here,
Now.
why tell me? Because you're the only one with Harlan fire left. And because he slid an envelope across the table, yellowed and sealed with wax. Elias asked me to watch over you if things went south. Inside's a key to his private vault in the tower basement. Proof of everything. Use it wisely.
Grace.
Revenge is a meal best served cold, but it burns hot if you're not careful. I stared at the envelope, pulse thundering. This was it, the buried secret, handed to me on a silver napkin. But as Sam vanished into the afternoon crowd, his trench coat flapping like wings, doubt gnawed. Was this reward a gift or a trap? And what price would I pay to wield it? The vault key felt like contraband in my palm, heavy brass, etched with Elias's initials. a relic from an era when men locked secrets in steel rather than clouds. I waited until midnight. The tower's night crew thinned to janitors and security cams I'd looped with a cheap USB jammer from a Lakeview electronics shop. Heart slamming against my ribs, I slipped past the lobby ghost, badge beeping me into the service elevator. The descent to B2 hummed like a dirge, fluorescence flickering overhead, casting shadows that danced like accusatory fingers. The vault door loomed, a monolithic slab, combination lock glowing faintly. I punched in the date of Grandma's death. The only code Elias ever trusted me with, July 4th, 1995. Independence Day. When she'd slipped away from cancer, leaving him half a man. Gears ground, and the door side open. Inside, the air was cool and musty. Shelves lined with ledgers, deeds, and a single laptop circa 2015, dust-free as if tended by phantoms. I fired it up, the screen blooming to life with a password prompt. Sam's birthday, pulled from a quick Google on the L ride over. March 22nd, 1955. Files unfolded like a house of cards, spreadsheets tracing Victor's diversions to Cayman trusts. Audio clips of Lydia's calls to fixers, make the inspectors disappear. Harold, permanently. And Ethan's emails to a hacker collective. Project Eclipse, neutralize threats. My murder was there too. In Blueprint, a forged diary entry dated months ahead, planting seeds of my descent into madness. Tears stung, hot and furious, but I swallowed them. No time for grief. I copied everything to a thumb drive, encrypted it with a 256-bit key from a dark web tutorial, and slipped out as dawn pinked the horizon. Back in my dorm, I crashed for 3 hours, dreaming of knives and boardrooms, waking to a text from an unknown number. Careful.
Grace.
Eyes everywhere.
S.
Class that day was torture, professors droning on Keynesian economics while my brain mapped maneuvers. I needed to leak just enough to sow discord, force them to tip their hands without fingering me. Controversial? Hell yes. In America, whistleblowers get parades or prisons. I aimed for the gray zone. Anonymous drops to journalists who'd bite for a scoop. But first, a test run. I forwarded a redacted audio of Lydia's bribe talk to a burner email, routing it through VPNs to the Sun-Times tip line. Anonymous source, Harlan PR head in hot water. By evening, the office hummed with tension, whispers in the break room. Victor's face purple during a huddle call. Ethan cornered me at the copier, his cologne cloying as deceit. Heard some noise about family drama. You okay? Cuz, looking a bit stressed. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes. Just the grind.
Ethan.
You know how it is climbing the ladder. My hand brushed his, lingering a beat too long, planting the seed. Flirt. Deflect.
Destroy.
It felt slimy, this game of seductor-spy. But necessity trumped nausea. In my first life, I'd rebuffed his advances, earning his grudge. Now, I'd use them as bait. That weekend, Sam called. How's the key treating you? Like Pandora's box, I admitted. Meeting him at a Ravenswood diner. Fogged windows, shielding us from prying eyes. Over pancakes drowning in syrup, I spilled the vault's hall. His nod was grim.
Good.
But it's not enough for court. Too circumstantial. You need leverage. Elias is pulling strings from the shadows. He's feigning frailty to flush them out. Meet him tomorrow. The reward's bigger than you think.
Reward.
The word twisted in my gut. Elias alive. Scheming? In my death throes. He'd been a shell. But Sam handed me coordinates, a private club in the Gold Coast. The Anchor, where old money nurse scotch and grudges. Sunday afternoon. I arrived in a borrowed dress from my roommate, emerald silk, hugging curves I rarely flaunted, heels wobbling on cobblestones. The doorman waved me through. No questions. Inside, leather armchairs and cigar haze enveloped me like a hug from ghosts. Elias sat by the window, overlooking Lake Michigan's Chop, a Scotch neat sweating on the table. At 78, he looked frielier than I remembered, liver spots mapping his hands, hair a whisper of white, but his eyes burned with that Harlan steel. Grandpa. My voice cracked. The little girl lilt slipping out unbidden. Grace. He rose, enveloping me in arms that smelled of bay rum and regret. Sam filled me in.
Seat.
We've got wolves to skin. Over the next hour, the floodgates opened. Elias confessed the half-truths. He'd suspected Victor's rot for years but lacked proof, faking his decline to bait the trap. You're my blood.
Girl.
The only one I trust. Sam's been my eyes since he died. That accident was staged. A clean break after the family imploded in '92. The betrayal cut deeper. Victor had bedded Sam's wife, Lydia's mother, sparking a rift that shattered the Harlan line. Buried secret upon secret, incestuous whispers, forged wills, a cover-up that would torch the company if aired. But the reward, Elias said, sliding a dossier across the table, stock proxies, voting rights, a letter of intent naming me silent partner. This makes you untouchable.
Sign.
And we move. But Grace. It's dirty work. You'll have to get close, too close to Ethan. Play his game. Feed his ego. Till he slips. My stomach churned. Seduce my cousin? Infiltrate his bed to record confessions? It reeked of tabloid sleaze. The kind of Me Too nightmare that could end Me Too. Controversial didn't cover it. It'd make me the villain in the headlines. A scheming heiress, trading flesh for power. But the alternative? Let them carve me open again. Watch Elias fade into oblivion. I'll do it, I whispered, pen shaking as I signed. For revenge. I'd become the monster they feared. The weeks that followed were a descent into velvet hell. Ethan took the bait, a casual after-work drink at the Gauge, where I laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, let my knee brush his under the table. You're different, Grace, he murmured, breath hot with bourbon.
Smarter.
Sexier. By the third date, we were in his Streeterville condo, skyline twinkling like conspirators. I kept my eyes on the prize, microphone hidden in my necklace, recording every slurred admission. Dad's fund? It's genius. Lydia's laundering through her charities. Once Elias kicks, we're golden. Nights blurred into nausea, faking moans, dodging his grabby hands, scrubbing my skin raw in hotel showers. Sam checked in weekly. Elias monthly. Their good job. Kid like salt in wounds. But progress mounted. Leaked docs to ProPublica. Anonymous tips to the SEC. Whispers in union halls about Harlan reforms. Victor raged in meetings. Lydia's smile cracked. Ethan's paranoia peaked. He started tailing me, convinced I was seeing someone. Then the first crack, a board meeting. Elias too ill to attend. Me as proxy with my new shares. I stood at the oak table, 20 stories above the loop, presenting efficiency audits laced with their dirt. Gentlemen, ladies, I said, voice steady as rebar. Transparency starts now. Victor's face blanched as projections flashed, red ink on his accounts. Lydia's emails italicized for emphasis. What the hell is this? He barked. Justice, I replied coolly. Ethan lunged, but security, tipped by Sam, hauled him back. Chaos erupted. Shouts. Overturned chairs. Lydia screeching about family loyalty as cops swarmed the tower. Cuffs clicking like vindication. I slipped to the window. Rain lashing the glass. Revenge tasted sweet, but hollow. How many pieces of me had I traded? The indictments hit like thunderclaps across the Trib's front page. Harlan Empire crumbles. CFO. PR head. VP charged in $50 million fraud. Photos splashed everywhere. Victor's mugshot. Hangdog and handcuffed. Lydia's. Lips pursed in defiant gloss. Ethan's. Hair disheveled. Eyes wild with betrayal. I watched from Elias's penthouse. A sprawling area of Persian rugs and lake views. Nursing a scotch that burned less than the memories. You did good, Grace, Elias rumbled from his leather recliner. Oxygen mask dangling like a noose. Proud of you.
Proud.
The word lodged in my throat. In the mirror that morning, I'd seen the toll, shadows under my eyes like bruises. A wariness that aged me a decade. The seduction ploy had worked. Ethan's recordings sealed their fate, but the cost? Nightmares of his hands. The feigned intimacy that left me hollow. Reporters camped outside the tower, dubbing me the Ice Queen Heiress, speculating on my mysterious rise. Twitter, X now. In this timeline, erupted in think pieces. Is Grace Harlan girl boss or ruthless operator? Controversial indeed. Women's ambition always was America's favorite blood sport. Sam joined us for dinner that night. Filet mignon from Gibson's. Delivered steaming. With a 98 Camus to wash down the ghosts. The feds are digging deeper, he said, carving his steak with surgical precision. Victor's singing already, trying to flip on Lydia for a deal. But Ethan's lawyered up, spinning it as youthful indiscretion. Let him spin, I snapped. Fork clattering. He's the one who held the knife. The slip escaped before I could cage it. Too vivid. The study.
The blood.
Elias's brow furrowed. But Sam shot me a look. Not now. We mapped the endgame over cognac. With their arrests, the board was in flux, proxies shifting to me. Elias's health rallying under round-the-clock care. The reward crystallized. Full control of Harlan Enterprises. Rebranded under my vision. No more cutthroat corners. I'd pivot to green steel. Union wages. Community reinvestment. The Rust Belt revival Elias dreamed of before greed soured him. But first, the trials. Testifying meant reliving it all on stands, cross-examined by sharks in $5,000 suits. Your Honor, my client was framed by a vengeful niece. The thought curdled my blood. The controversy peaked 2 weeks later, at the preliminary hearing in the Dirksen Federal Courthouse. Downtown buzzed with protesters, unions chanting for justice. Occupy holdovers decrying corporate cannibalism. I arrived in armor, cream Chanel suit, hair in a chignon, flanked by Elias's old firm, Kirkland and Ellis. Cameras flashed like gunfire as I pushed through. Ethan's glare boring holes from the defense table. Lydia sneered. Victor avoided my eyes. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman named Rivera, called order. The DA laid out the charges. Wire fraud, bribery, conspiracy, each count a nail in their coffins. Then my turn, sworn in, hand on the Bible, Voice amplified for the gallery. I uncovered the scheme during my internship. I began. Study as Lake Superior in winter. Mr. Harlan, Ethan confided details in private conversations, believing me an ally. Objection. Ethan's attorney, a silver fox from Scadden, leaped up. Hearsay. And MS. Harlan's methods, unorthodox at best. Intimate encounters? Sounds like entrapment. The courtroom gasped, murmurs rippling like wind through wheat. Intimate. The word hung, slimy and accusatory, painting me as the seductress, the plotter. Rivera banged her gavel. Counsel. Relevance. But the damage seeped. Reporters scribbled furiously. Outside. Chant shifted. Free the Harlans. Grace the snake. Social media lit up. Harlan Honeytrap trending. Memes of me as a black widow in pearls. Elias squeezed my hand in the hall recess, whispering, "They'll twist anything." But truth cuts deepest. He was right, but it stung. That night, alone in the penthouse, I cracked, sobbing into a pillow that smelled of Elias's aftershave. The weight of 2 lives crushing me. Was this revenge or self-immolation? I'd died innocent once, now. I was complicit in the dirt. Sam found me there, knocking softly before entering with a bottle of Armagnac. It's the American way.
Kid.
Fight dirty. Win clean. Remember why you came back. We talked till dawn, his exile. The affair that shattered the family. How he'd faked his death to escape Victor's threats. Your grandma knew, he admitted, voice thick. Begged me to stay, but blood's a curse. You're breaking it.
Grace.
Don't fold now. Emboldened, I doubled down. Leaks escalated. I funneled vault docs to the Chicago Reader, an indie rag that thrived on underbelly exposes. Their piece, Harlan's Hidden Sins, a century of rust and ruin, detailed the 92 layoffs Sam survived, linking them to Victor's early graft. Public outrage swelled. Shareholders dumped stock, forcing a fire sale of tainted assets. Lydia's charities crumbled under IRS audits. Ethan's Wharton network ghosted him. Victor faced RICO charges that could bury him for life. But tension coiled tighter. Ethan reached out from Cook County Jail, a smuggled note via a guard. We need to talk.
Grace.
Family secrets you don't know. Meet at the old mill. Midnight. Come alone. My skin crawled. Trap? Confession? The mill in Gary, rusted skeleton of Harlan's origins, where Elias started punching clocks at 16. Symbolic. Sure. But suicidal. I went. Of course. Armed with a concealed recorder and pepper spray in my boot, trench coat over jeans for the chill. The mill loomed under a sickle moon, chain-link fences sagging like weary sentries. Floodlights from patrolling cops cast eerie pools. Wind whistled through broken windows like lost souls. Ethan's silhouette waited by the blast furnace ruins. Shackled ankles clinking faintly, he charmed a transport for evidence collection, the arrogant prick. You came, he said, voice echoing off concrete. No smirk now. Defeat hollowed his cheeks. I always knew you were the smart one. Save the flattery. I snapped, keeping distance. What secrets? He leaned against a girder, shadows playing across his face. The knife wasn't my idea. Lydia, she wanted you gone first, to test Elias's will. But there's more. Grandfather.
Elias. He's not the saint you think.
The layoffs? He greenlit them. Sam's death. Elias covered the threats to make it stick. And you. A twig snapped. Footsteps too many. From the darkness, figures emerged, not cops, but goons in black, faces masked. Lydia's fixer Harold at the lead, silenced pistol glinting. Loose ends. Miss Harlan, Harold growled. Ethan's eyes widened, betrayed again. Or playing both sides. Panic surged, but training from Sam's self-defense sessions kicked in. I sprayed the nearest, a yelp piercing the night, then bolted for the fence. Bullets whizzed, silenced pops. Concrete chipping. Ethan shouted, "Grace, wait," but I vaulted chain link, tearing my palms bloody, sprinting into the industrial sprawl. Sirens wailed distant. I'd triggered a panic button in my watch. Elias's gift. The cops swarmed minutes later. Harold's crew scattering like roaches. Ethan, feigning innocence, claimed it was ambush by unknowns. But I knew Lydia's desperation, striking from the shadows. In the ER, stitches burning. Sam and Elias arrived, Elias in a wheelchair. Fury etching new lines. "Enough," he growled. "We end this tomorrow." The climax brewed overnight. A storm of press conferences and emergency board calls. I slept fitful, dreaming of mills aflame, rebirth in fire. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving over Gary. The mill's skeleton silhouetted against a sky bruised with clouds. News vans clogged the access roads, reporters shouting questions as I emerged from the ER. Bandaged hands wrapped like boxer's tape. MS. Harlan. Was it an assassination attempt? Are the charges connected? I stonewalled them. Elias's PR machine, now mine, spinning a narrative of corporate thuggery exposed. But inside, the twist nod, Ethan's words, half spit before the shots. What had Elias hidden? And Sam, his exile story. Too pat. Too convenient. The board convened at noon. Emergency session in the tower's war room. Holographic screens flickered with shareholder feeds from New York to Tokyo. The air hummed with tension. AC whispering like conspirators. I took the head seat. Elias to my right in a tailored suit that belied his frailty. Sam lurking in the back like a sentinel. Victor was absent, extradited to federal holding. Lydia, out on bail, Skyped in from her Gold Coast fortress. Face a mask of Botox and bile. Ethan, remanded, watched via secure link. His orange jumpsuit a far cry from Armani. Ladies and gentlemen, I opened. Voice amplified. Steady as the Mississippi. The Harlan name stands at a precipice. Betrayal from within has cost us trust. Stock value alives. Gasps rippled. I let it hang. Then cued the montage. Ethan's recordings. Lydia's calls. Victor's ledgers. Capped with last night's 911 audio. Harold's voice snarling my name. The board recoiled. Murmurs cresting to outrage. Lydia's image crackled. Lies. Fabrications by a power-hungry girl playing dress-up. Her eyes darted. Fear. Not fury. Enough, sister. Elias interjected. His voice a thunderclap. The room stilled. He hadn't spoken publicly in months. You've poisoned this family long enough. Grace has the proof and the proxies. Motion to dissolve your positions. Effective immediately. Votes tallied lightning fast. The betrayers were ousted. Their empires reduced to ash. Cheers erupted. Backslaps and handshakes. But I felt no joy, only the hollow echo of what I'd become. As the feed cut, Lydia's final glare promised hell. This isn't over.
Grace.
Blood knows its own. It wasn't. That evening, as rain lashed the penthouse windows, a courier delivered a package unmarked, addressed in Lydia's looping script. Inside, a USB drive and a note.
Watch.
Then decide. Trembling, I plugged it in. Footage bloomed. Grainy security cam from the study. My first death. But not as I remembered. There, Elias. Entering seconds before the attack. Arguing with Ethan. You touch her.
Boy.
And you're done. Then the knife. Ethan's lunge. But Elias. Hesitating. A flicker of calculation. He stepped back as I fell, whispering not my name, but necessary. My world tilted. The twist uncoiled. Elias had known, or suspected, the coup. Orchestrated my death as bait, sacrificing me to expose them fully. Sam confirmed it later, arriving with whiskey and apologies. He told me after, the recordings were set, but your fall. He thought you'd survive. Play dead like I did. A miscalculation. The old man's always been 3 steps ahead. But this time, he lost a pawn.
Pawn.
Rage boiled. Hot and biblical. I'd reborn for revenge against the wolves. Only to learn the shepherd was the devil.
Why?
I demanded. Fists clenched. I was your blood. Elias wheeled and then, uninvited, eyes wet. Because I failed you once, Grace, in the first go-round. Watched you die. Did nothing. This time, I thought control would save us. Forgive an old fool. Forgiveness? It tasted like ash. Controversial to the core, expose him. And the empire crumbled. Jobs lost. The revival dream dust. Protect him. And I became the enabler, complicit in patricide by omission. The decision tore me, family or justice. In America, we mythologize the patriarch, but idols crack. Dawn found me on the balcony, city sprawling below like a conquered kingdom. Sam joined, silent companion. What's the play? I exhaled, rain mingling with tears. Truth. Partial. We restructure. Me at helm. Elias advisory. No more secrets. And them. A nod to the headlines. Trials proceeding. Lydia fleeing to Switzerland. Extradition pending. Victor pleading. Ethan broken. Revenge achieved. But Pyrrhic. Months blurred. Verdicts handed down. Life for Victor. 20 for Lydia. Ethan 15 with a shank threat in Gen Pop. Harlan rose phoenix like under my hand, solar panels on mills. Worker co-ops. Headlines shifting to Eris's redemption. Elias faded gracefully, passing in his sleep 6 months later. Whispering, well done, lamb. His will, everything to me. With a codicil, Sam was right, loyalty's rare. You made it eternal. But the reward, the true one, came quieter. One crisp October noon, back at that Wicker Park dive, I shared lunch with Sam. No strangers now, uncle and niece. Forging anew. To second chances he toasted, glasses clinking. I smiled, real this time. And to the wolves we outran. Reborn, revenged, redeemed, or as close as this bloody tapestry allows. In the end, the greatest twist? I didn't destroy them all. I became better than the blood.